Few players in world football divide opinions more than Mesut Ozil of Arsenal. The German's decline in the post-Arsene Wenger era has been sad to observe. He was once hailed as the greatest playmaker of his generation and recently announced his retirement. No one questions his ability, but a lot of people have questioned his effort, attitude, and greed. Some believe he has stolen from Arsenal over the course of his 7 years with the team, but they couldn't be more mistaken. That is not to say that criticism of Ozil is unwarranted, especially in light of Wenger's departure. More importantly, it is meant to emphasize that he shouldn't be held responsible for all of Arsenal's dismal performances during that time. Additionally, it's important to remember the actual things he has accomplished for the club. The truth is that Mesut Ozil has contributed more to Arsenal than the majority of people realize. It is up to each individual whether they choose to accept it or reject it. The German's tenure at the club should be viewed as successful for a number of reasons, though. He has, after all, garnered the most significant honors during the Emirates era. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Arsenal fans had been dejected for 8 years prior to the signing of Mesut Ozil. Additionally, players were moving on and winning elsewhere. Stars Cesc Fabregas, Samir Nasri, and top scorer Robin van Persie all left Arsenal within a year of one another and went on to win significant trophies elsewhere. In order to fill a gap that had arguably existed since the Invincible era, supporters urged Wenger and the board to make some financial investments. So it makes sense that Arsenal finally spent a then club record £42.5 million on the caliber of player their fans had been clamoring for. Unavoidably, fans were hopeful for the future. The majority of people expected Ozil to help Arsenal win something once more, even though they didn't anticipate him to do so right away. Fortunately, Aaron Ramsey and other Arsenal players gained the much-needed self-confidence as a result of his signing. In his first full season, the two were successful in forming a potent midfield partnership. And from midfield, the rejuvenated Welshman scored 16 goals in the Premier League. Arsenal overcame a 2-0 deficit to defeat Hull City 3-2 in the FA Cup final at Wembley, mirroring the duo's league performance. After 9 years without a victory, Arsenal had at last achieved something significant. Is it merely a coincidence that it took place during the Germans' debut campaign with the team? Let's respond to that. They wouldn't have repeated it the following season if it had been a coincidence. In that year's championship game, they defeated Tim Sherwood's Aston Villa 4-0. After going 9 years without a victory, Arsenal now had 2 major victories in that time. To believe that something like that could have happened by accident is naive. The club was simply a much better team with a German on the team. Arsenal supporters detest recalling the 15-16 season because it was the one in which they should have won the league. By January, Ozil had racked up 16 assists. He appeared destined to surpass the all-time mark for assists in a season 20 with those impressive numbers. Henry, the best player for the Gunners, made the initial move. Olivier Giroud went 15 games without scoring before Arsenal strikers decided to play with the wrong shoes on their feet. As Arsenal eventually finished second behind Leicester, somehow Ozil only managed to notch 3 more assists. He was also denied a spot on the PFA Team of the Year. It was sometimes magical to watch Mesut Ozil and Alexis Sanchez play together, and the two frequently terrified opposing defenses. Because of Sanchez's diligence, Ozil could find him, as he frequently did. The Chilean believed that, 9 times out of 10, he would receive a pass that was expertly weighted if he made a run during a game. They posed a threat when combined. The two demonstrated why we refer to it as the beautiful game, despite how unpredictable it can be at times. The German hasn't been the same since Sanchez left, sadly, and vice versa. Ozil is typically thought of as being slack, unfocused, and without intensity. But is that the reason he isn't operating at the same frequency? He lost his right-hand man, after all, so that must have had some bearing on why he hasn't delivered lately. Even Thierry Henry left the club in the past when Arsenal most needed him. Additionally, their efforts are still acknowledged. The £350,000 per week contract would undoubtedly have had a significant impact on his decision to stay. Fans are understandably frustrated by his recent lack of performance, but why criticize loyalty? He has never expressed disapproval of the club or refused to train. Since Ozil has been treated in this manner, it is truly perplexing to understand why.